Let's jump right into this. Most of us, we take the continuity of our minds completely for granted. We go to sleep, we wake up, and we carry this nice, unbroken line of memory right into today. But what happens when the brain goes through severe trauma and literally partitions itself to survive? In this explainer, we're decoding structural amnesia and exploring how a fragmented mind actually experiences reality.
Okay, so try to put yourself in this headspace for a second. Imagine waking up right now with absolutely no connection to the actions you took, the decisions you made, or the conversations you had just an hour ago. Instead of a flowing stream of consciousness, your time exists entirely in these isolated, sealed-off bubbles. When a different identity state, often called an alter, takes control of the body, the previous window of time just completely seals off behind what's known as an amnesic wall. You're essentially waking up in a life that belongs to a stranger, with zero data to explain how you got there.
And that brings us to the core concept here, structural amnesia. Now, it is absolutely crucial to understand that we aren't just talking about standard everyday forgetting. We're not talking about losing your car keys or zoning out on autopilot. No, structural amnesia is a literal failure of the brain's internal hardware to maintain a continuous timeline. It's this profound inability to perceive the continuous, linear mechanics of the physical world. And without that continuous thread of time to observe the very logical progression of reality, like how objects behave or how tasks actually get completed, it just simply stops making sense.
To really grasp just how disorienting this is, look at this incredible quote derived from our source materials. Processes, in my mind, were not absolute things. That made the world really not make sense because it seemed like anything was possible. Just think about that. Think about what happens when the basic laws of cause and effect just break down. If your brain doesn't track time as a continuous fabric, you literally can't perceive the slow, predictable progression of an event, like, say, dirt accumulating in a furnace filter over time. Because you can't track that physical process, maintenance becomes this totally disconnected, abstract rule. You might follow it just to prevent a bad outcome, but it doesn't feel like a logical reaction to reality. When processes aren't absolute, well, the world feels dangerously random.
And this brilliantly illustrates our central anchor metaphor, the fly's eye. So most people view reality through a standard human lens, right? It's like watching a continuous, seamless movie of your life, where you always have the context of the past to inform the present. But a structurally dissociated mind operates more like the compound eye of a fly. Imagine looking through a lens made up of hundreds of tiny, vibrant hexagons. Each individual hexagon reflects a totally isolated mini-scene, a completely siloed fragment of awareness.
Let's break down exactly how this compound eye functions. In this system, each lens or each identity state acts as a completely separate operating system. One lens holds on to a very specific reality, maybe a specific set of skills or memories. But here's the kicker. It has absolutely no access permissions to the rest of the mind. Imagine your brain as a massive library. The memories are technically sitting right there on the shelves, but all the covers and index cards have been ripped away. The active lens has literally no index to search for what another lens experienced yesterday. They're functionally blind to each other.
Now let's map out this fly's eye to see exactly how this shifting awareness works. This chart perfectly explains how responsibilities and resources become totally siloed. Say you have an active lens that expertly handles the finances and pays the daily bills. Well, that same lens might be entirely blind to the existence of a hidden savings account. That's a vital resource, an option, just locked away from the part of the brain currently running the show. Meanwhile, an alter who's a devoted pet lover might wake up with zero connection to the fact that they also have child-rearing duties. This shifting awareness means one active lens can flawlessly manage a specific crisis, while being completely cut off from crucial hidden resources or major life responsibilities.
So, the crucial takeaway here is that this total lack of shared knowledge creates tremendous internal friction. As this quote perfectly captures, half the time we end up doing something that undoes what a different one of us does. Every isolated part of the system is working desperately on its own specific piece of the puzzle, just trying to survive. But because they are completely unaware of the disorientation it's causing across that internal barrier, their totally uncoordinated attempts to manage life end up creating this accidental chaos.
Which builds into what we call the Rubik's Cube effect. People without structural amnesia can easily coordinate their different roles. But here, the mind operates like a Rubik's Cube, where you can only see one side at a time. Picture this. Step 1. Lens A fronts, meaning they take active control of consciousness, and they successfully pay a crucial household bill. Awesome, right? But step 2, an amnesia wall drops, sealing off that memory entirely. Then, step 3, lens B wakes up, realizes the bill is due,
has literally no memory of it being paid and just panics. They end up calling the company begging for an extension. By trying to solve their one face of the cube, they inadvertently scramble the progress made by the other lenses. It's double-action chaos.
Now imagine being an outsider looking at this scrambled cube, especially a medical professional. Because they lack a framework for these structural hardware failures, they fall for what we call the illusion of self-sabotage. When a patient's story suddenly changes, or they fail to follow a treatment plan because a different lens is active, the medical system pathologizes it. They label it as intentional inconsistency. They call it procrastination, or a lack of effort, or even deliberate lying. They treat a profound neurological communication breakdown like it's just a simple behavioral defect. And man, that leaves the individual feeling deeply isolated and misunderstood.
But look, we absolutely cannot view this solely as a tragedy. Because what happens next is a profound testament to human resilience and radical ingenuity. When the very internal systems designed for memory and continuity are fundamentally broken, what do? Well, you build one on the outside. This is all about bypassing those neurological bottlenecks by engineering an entirely external brain. It's this brilliant survival adaptation where the system forces a shared, objective reality to exist out in the physical world, so all those isolated fly's-eye lenses can finally communicate. And here is how they are literally weaving the fabric of reality back together using cognitive prosthetics. They use whiteboards as visual applets, hard-coding daily instructions right into the environment so whichever lens wakes up knows exactly what to do. They use security cameras and audio transcription tools not out of paranoia, but to provide a verifiable, objective timeline to investigate lost time. They even program smart home routines to automatically greet the tomorrow person, that's the blank slate alter waking up, with the date and calendar events to instantly ground them. They're using meticulously color-coded binders to serve as a literal physical prosthetic memory. It's pretty amazing.
Which leaves us with a really vital question to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. When an individual works this incredibly hard to engineer an external reality and compensate for a fractured timeline, why does the standard medical system continue to treat them with single-mind software patches? Applying standard behavioral therapy to a multi-mind operating system doesn't just fail, it actively crashes the system. It's really time we stop demanding that a fragmented mind simply try harder to remember and start supporting the brilliant, necessary tools they actually use to survive.